There are movies that entertain us, and then there are movies that transport us out of our daily grind, out of the headlines, out of reality itself. And Kiss of the Spider-Woman 2025, directed by Bill Condon and starring Jennifer Lopez, Diego Luna, and Tonatiuh, is exactly that kind of film. It's a musical. It's a prison drama. It's a story about survival, identity, and the power of fantasy when reality becomes unbearable. But more than that, it's a love letter to escapism and a reminder that even in the darkest times, art still has the power to set us free. So, let's dive into the world of Kiss of the Spider-Woman 2025, where danger, desire, and dazzling dreams all collide. Before we get to the 2025 film, let's rewind. The story of Kiss of the Spider-Woman has lived many lives. It began as a 1976 novel by Argentine writer Manuel Puig, a daring, poetic piece of fiction about two men imprisoned during Argentina's military dictatorship. It was later turned into a 1985 film starring Raul Julia and William Hurt, who even won an Oscar for his role. Then, it became a Tony Award-winning Broadway musical, written by Terrence McNally with songs by John Kander and Fred Ebb, the legendary duo behind Cabaret and Chicago. And now, nearly 40 decades later, director Bill Condon, known for Dreamgirls, Chicago as a co-writer, and Beauty and the Beast, has brought it back to life again, reimagined for a new generation. This latest adaptation debuted at Sundance 2025, and let's just say it turned some heads. Sundance is usually home to quiet indie dramas or raw documentaries, not glittering Jennifer Lopez starring musicals produced by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. So when this film premiered, audiences didn't quite know what to expect, but by the end, they were on their feet applauding. The movie takes us to Argentina in the early 1980s, during the height of the country's dirty war, a time when the government was violently disappearing political dissidents. Over 30,000 people were imprisoned, tortured, or killed. Inside one of those prisons, we meet two men whose worlds couldn't be more different.
Valentin, played by Diego Luna, is a revolutionary, strong-willed, intelligent, and unbreakable, even after months of torture. He's fighting for a cause, for justice, and for the idea that one person can still make a difference. His new cellmate, Luis Molina, played by Tonatiuh, couldn't be more opposite. Luis is flamboyant, talkative, and full of imagination. He's been imprisoned simply for being gay, for daring to live authentically in a society that refuses to accept him. While Valentin dreams of political freedom, Molina dreams of the movies, specifically old Hollywood musicals filled with glamour, romance, and tragedy. To pass the time and distract from their grim reality, Molina begins to tell Valentin the story of one of his favorite films, a melodramatic fantasy called Kiss of the Spider-Woman, starring his beloved silver screen idol, Ingrid Luna, played by none other than Jennifer Lopez. This is where the movie takes its boldest leap. Every time Molina starts telling his story, the prison walls melt away. The gray cement and flickering bulbs transform into a world of dazzling color, shimmering gowns, smoky nightclubs, glittering dance halls. In this movie within a movie, Lopez plays Ingrid Luna, a glamorous magazine editor who finds herself entangled in the web of a mysterious figure, the Spider-Woman, a symbol of both seduction and death. These sequences are pure spectacle, lush, campy, and beautifully over the top. The cinematography by Tobias Schleisler turns every frame into a vintage postcard from the golden age of Hollywood. There are echoes of Singin' in the Rain, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and The Bandwagon, but also the surreal flair of Pedro Almodovar.
Through these dreamlike numbers, we see who Melina really is. Someone using art and fantasy to escape not just the prison, but a lifetime of rejection. But outside the fantasy, reality bites. The prison warden pressures Melina to spy on Valentine, to extract information about the underground resistance in exchange for early release. It's a cruel setup. Loyalty versus freedom. And as the two men grow closer, their relationship deepens into something tender and complicated. A fragile bond between two people who, against all odds, find understanding and love in the most unlikely of places. For Melina, Valentine represents truth, a connection to the real world he's always feared. For Valentine, Melina becomes something he's never had: hope, beauty, and compassion in a world of violence. But the question hangs heavy over every scene. Will Melina betray him? Or will love and art win out in the end? Director Bill Condon walks a fascinating tightrope here. He's working between two worlds, the grim realism of political imprisonment and the dazzling unreality of fantasy musicals. When he leans into the spectacle, the film soars. The musical sequences are lavishly choreographed, bursting with life, color, and energy. Jennifer Lopez is stunning, moving with the grace of an old-school diva while winking at the audience with self-aware charm. But when the film returns to the cell, the tone shifts. It's quieter, more restrained. Sometimes maybe too much. Some critics noted that the prison scenes feel almost too clean, too staged, lacking the grit of earlier versions. Still, that may be the point. Condon seems less interested in the politics of the story and more in its emotion, in the need to escape when the world refuses to see you. Jennifer Lopez shines like she hasn't in years. After a run of forgettable Netflix action flicks, she's back in her element. Glamorous, confident, magnetic. Her performance as both Ingrid Luna and the Spider-Woman is deliciously layered. One moment campy, the next haunting. Her musical numbers, especially the sultry, unforgettable title song, Kiss of the Spider-Woman, are showstoppers. Diego Luna brings subtlety and restraint, grounding the film's emotion. And Tonatiuh delivers a performance full of vulnerability and warmth, even if his theatrical style occasionally overflows. Together, they create chemistry that feels genuine and bittersweet. At its heart, Kiss of the Spider-Woman is about the power of imagination and the ways we use fantasy to survive reality. For Melina, movies are not just a distraction, they're a lifeline. For Valentine, fantasy becomes a window into empathy, a reminder that even revolutionaries need something to fight for, not just against. And for us, the audience, the film is a mirror. It asks, in times of pain or oppression, how do we escape? Through art? Through love? Through dreams? Is Kiss of the Spider-Woman 2025 perfect? No. Some songs are forgettable, the pacing drags in parts, and the emotional impact doesn't always hit as hard as the 1985 film, but it's bold, beautiful, and alive. In a time when movies often play it safe, this one dares to be something else, a tragic fairy tale drenched in color and feeling. And Jennifer Lopez, radiant, confident, and utterly in control, reminds us why she became a star in the first place. At Sundance, surrounded by somber dramas and quiet documentaries, this film was a breath of glittering air, a reminder that art can still surprise us. Because sometimes the only way to survive reality is to dream your way out of it. And that's Kiss of the Spider-Woman 2025, a story about love, fantasy, and the courage to find beauty in impossible places. What did you think of the film? Do you prefer the original 1985 version, or did this musical reimagining capture your heart? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more deep dives into the most fascinating movies of the year. Until next time, Keep watching, keep dreaming, and remember, even in the darkest cells, the imagination is free.